Following a non-linear path can make the difference between a great performer and a performer that is world-class. Before I go into depth, you need to understand with this triangle or pyramid, I want to visualize your training. So in the top of the pyramid, you have all the basic and fundamental exercises, and usually you can perform them 9 or 10 out of 10 times. So these are the completely basic things in your training, like regular push-ups, stretches and mobility exercises, and everything that you can perform without failing them. And the more you evolve in your journey, the bigger this foundation gets. So these are exercises that you can perform 9 out of 10 times. So for a beginner, this could be things like frog stand, for example, or push-ups. And for an advanced athlete, the fundamental exercises could be things like one-arm handstand weight shifts, for example. So it's nothing that is too fixed. It's always individually for each person. And then you have the working sets. The working sets, they should make the biggest part of your training, because the working sets, you can perform them 7 out of 10 times, and like this you sending your body a really good stimulus, and like this you're always on the edge of training outside of your comfort zone and inside, because it's actually the meeting point between both sides. Because here at the bottom you have all the things that are inside of your comfort zone, and that's why you shouldn't do them too much. So as a rule of thumb, I've written down 20% of your training. Then you have all the attempts and everything above this. For example, the skill attempts of your goals that are really far in the future. So this is at the top, everything that you can't do right now, and they should only make up 20% of your training, and the working sets should make up around 60% of your training. And like this you have a really good balance between training inside and outside of your comfort zone. And this is just a rule of thumb, so don't think too strict of this module. It's just something to give you a rough outline on how you should structure your training. So you should have a really good foundation, but you shouldn't base your training on the foundation exercises that are too easy for you, because you always want to progressively push your level, and this is only possible if you train on the edge of what is possible for you. So you should always, if your limit is here, you should always get close to your limit, and you should find the balance between pushing to your limits and going to the foundation. So it should be a really great balance. And the next thing that you need to understand is that there are actually two triangles. There's the one triangle of your current level, so it's the red one, like you have seen here. And then you also have the triangle that is required for you to get a goal. So if you have set the goal to reach, for example, the 1 minute one-arm handstand, then your triangle currently maybe looks like the red one. And once you get to your goal, the triangle expands in all directions. And once you have reached the goal, the triangle is also at the size of the blue triangle. So these are the two triangles that you should understand. Now let's go to the topic of the video. It's about the 3 ways on how people structure the training. So beginners usually follow a really random structure. They just go for something without knowing what they really want, and without knowing where they are currently at. So they just go for it because they feel like doing it, and they don't know what to do because they don't have any experience. And they also usually don't have much guidance, and they are usually looking up everything from a lot of different sources, and like this they are often really confused because they watch the YouTube videos of tens of different people and everyone is telling them slightly different things, and like this they are only confused, and that's the chaos phase. And most beginners are in this chaos phase, and then once they realize that the chaos phase is not bringing them where they want to be, that's when they start to structure the training, and that's when they actually go step by step. That's when they create themselves a really strict plan. So they usually follow a plan that consists out of firstly building up a strong base. So they usually go really linearly, so they go step by step, and first of all they maybe focus on building up the foundation, like building up the holding time in the usual handstand for 1 minute or something like this. Then they start on working on leg movements, then they go to handstand push-up variations and presses, and once they are comfortable with this, they move on to do the finger assisted one-arm handstand holds, and then they progressively reduce the weight on the free arm, and they continue like this. And this is already a really great approach because it's already following a clear plan. In this phase, those people have already defined the point where they are currently at and the goal, and everything is really clear, and they have made everything clear for them, and then they follow everything step by step. And this is a way which is usually leading them to the goal that they want to achieve. But the one downside of the linear approach is that it takes a lot of time to get from the one point to the other point, because they go step by step and they build up one block and then they build up the next block. And this is something that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And of course, reaching the one-arm handstand will always take a lot of time and a lot of effort. But if you follow the non-linear approach, which is mostly followed by a lot of professional athletes, then you can save yourself quite some time. And the non-linear way is something that I've never heard anyone talking about, because it's not convenient. It's the approach of working on different things that are out of reach while you are working on your foundation, for example. So in this case, you could work on your weight shifts in the one-arm handstand with fingers support hold, and at the same time you can already start to practice the arm lift. And this is something that not a lot of people talk about, because it doesn't seem to be logic, and it's not the easiest way to understand, because it also includes some kind of intuition and also body awareness, because you need to listen to your body and you also need to combine it with logic. So it's nothing really clear, and that's also why not a lot of people talk about it. But most professional athletes are following this. They usually start with building up the foundation, and at the same time they build up the blocks of the pyramid that are more advanced. So it's like building a house, but instead of building one block and then building the next block which gets placed, they already build one block while they are building one block which is getting placed in the future. So they are firstly building the foundation, and while they are building the foundation, they are already practicing these two things that are in the future. So they are building these two blocks while they are still building up the foundation. And like this, they can shrink the time of reaching the goal to a quite short time. So it can really decrease the length of your journey, because when you go the linear way, then it might take you 5 years to go from frog stand to one-arm handstand with different shapes. But if you follow the non-linear way, it might only take you 2 to 3 years. So that's the power of following a non-linear approach. And if you have the guidance and if you have a really clear blueprint that is adjusted to you, then you can get the maximum out of it. But you really need to understand how it works, because otherwise chances are that you are doing the random approach, and this is something that can have great results, but it can also have the opposite. So the random approach usually leads to random results. So the random approach can give you really great results, but it can also give you really bad results. So you can't rely on the random approach, because for some people that have a great intuition and a great body awareness, for those people the random approach might work well in the beginning, and that's why they are actually doing the non-linear approach. The camera just stopped recording, so now I think it should work again, and let's continue. I was talking about the random approach, and it's not really clear because we are conditioned in our society to always follow a linear path. We are conditioned to follow the path from childhood, to go to school, then go to the next school, then go to the job, and it's all the linear approach, and it's the linear approach that we have been told. So it's our programming that we need to change, and if we put in a certain amount of time, we also get out the certain amount of money, for example, in our job. So it's always linear approach. And with the linear approach, the problem is that you can't really get exponential results because you are always going step by step, and it's the proven way and it's the safe way, but it's not the way that can get you immense results in just a few years. If you really understand how to use the nonlinear approach, that's when your progress is going to get through the roof. So you really need to understand how the nonlinear approach works, and then you can use it for your advantage, and then you can save yourself a lot of time because you can shrink the time together because you are already working parallel on different things. And once you get to the level of the next block, then you have already experienced how it feels to execute a certain thing. For example, the shoulder movement in the one-arm handstand when you lift the arm, because you always need to keep the shoulder in the same position. And when you already collect some experience in this particular area, then it's going to be way easier to get the one-arm handstand once you are ready to really work on balancing the skill, because you have already teach your body on how to keep the shoulder position while lifting the arm, for example. So it's really useful, and you also need to understand that your body always learns the things that you do the most. So it's all about specificity, and if you are not specific enough, then you will stay stuck. And that's also why I see a lot of people that stay stuck when they follow the linear path. Those people are mostly stuck in the weight shift with finger support hold. If those people would just try to lift their arm and experience how it feels to keep the shoulder in the same position, for example, then they would make a lot more progress. Because if you don't practice the things that are outside of your comfort zone, then you are also not going to learn them, because learning happens when you do the things that you can't do right now. You will fail outside of your comfort zone because you have no experience in the zone, and then you will learn from your mistakes, and you will also have the balance between working on your foundation and working on the things that are outside of your foundation. Then you bring them all together like a puzzle, and then you will reach everything in a way quicker time, because you have learned everything parallel, and those things take a lot of time. And if you go linearly, then you will work on the one step, then you will go to the next step, and you have no experience in the next step, and then you will struggle again a lot, because you first need to get the experience and then you can combine it with your foundation. So it takes way more time, and it's also way harder to go the linear way. And when you really understand how to go non-linear, that's when your training is really going to get to another level, and you are also going to be able to reach new heights in your training. So it would be the worst thing to miss the non-linear approach. But usually it takes to go through these phases in order to be able to understand the non-linear way, because first being in the chaos phase and then in the structured phase is necessary to fully understand the way on how to go non-linear. So don't stress yourself too much if you are still in this phase, because with this linear phase you can't do much wrong, because if you have a proven to work system, then you can go step by step and it should usually work for you. But the non-linear way is for all those people that want to have a different way and that want to be even faster and even more efficient in their training. So it's not the most mainstream way, but it's the way that has the potential to make your progress exponential. So that's it for the video. And if you liked it, and if you have some questions, make sure to leave them in the comments. And if you want to have some personal guidance, make sure to DM me on Instagram. The link is in the description. So you can find me there,